and the American people realize that we're in this together.
We have to be able to talk about politics and the future of democracy in order to protect it.
If you don't fight, this job is not for you.
One of the best things about this country is that, for the most part, for 248 years, we moved forward. Almost every movie on this list is going to remind us of that. TCM has always been a place where we love these movies, we love talking about these movies, and that's what we're going to continue to do. This is a thrill for me to be sitting here with two-time Oscar winner Sally Field.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled.
Sally was here as part of our limited series, Making Change, the 100 most significant political films of all time, culled from the New Republic's list, released in the magazine last summer.
Which is an awful list. We just have to say that. Really,
You didn't
really
have
bad.
to say it
I had
first.
to. I have
Yeah.
all respect for the magazine, but really, the great McGinty. I like Brian Donlevy, but never mind.
So you had some issues with the list in
There
general.
are a lot of movies that should have been on there that weren't, but that's another list. That would be my list.
Well, I would be very interested in the Sally Field 100 most significant. I'm one
Where's
of the,
On the Waterfront? You
Yeah.
know, come on.
but it's interesting what made the list and what didn't. I think that, first of all, we're going to rejoin this conversation.
We
in a minute.
digress.
No, but the digression is important. Sally has picked the film that comes in at number 81 on the list, the documentary from 1984, The Times of Harvey Milk from Rob Epstein, made 6 years after his murder.
Yeah.
What drew you to
Oh
this?
my God. You know, just to use the slogan right now, we're not going back.
Yeah.
And the progress that this country has made, you know, wonderful, profound progress culturally on equal rights, human rights for the LGBTQ community, is profoundly important. I wanted to pick Milk, the movie that was made in 2008.
Yeah, that's Van Zandt's
A
film.
magnificent film, and Sean Penn's absolutely exquisite performance, but it's not on the list. I wanted to because I'm an actor, and I wanted it to be, you know, also about acting. But this documentary is great. It won the Academy Award. It should have won the Academy Award. And it's so moving. I defy you not to cry, no matter who you are, what party you are affiliated with, because it's about human beings trying to stand up and be equal.
The doc very effectively takes you through Harvey's life, what brought him to San Francisco. I mean, he was working on Wall Street, basically, and then all of a sudden he's letting his hair grow and he moves out to San Francisco.
And he's saying who I am. This
That's
is
right.
who I am.
And it's only 90 minutes. This is not going to take up a lot of your
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And yet it tells Harvey's whole story, the movement's story, and then the story of his terrible
His
death.
assassination.
It gets a lot in.
I think Harvey changed a lot of things. The Stonewall Uprising in the West Village in 1969, where these gay men stood up and they wouldn't be pushed around anymore. This was a really important moment. And then Harvey, you know, came not too long after that. You know, clearly the line of influence. And then unfortunately AIDS started in 1981 and went on until the early 90s.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, when you think back about all the leaders that have been cut down too early,
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, you know, both men killed in their 40s, Harvey killed in his late 40s. Harvey Milk, during the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, would have been such a
He would have
valuable
been
voice.
so important.
Yeah.
The decision is to go back in their closet real good, slam the door tight, which some will do, or burst down those closet doors once and for all and stand up and start to fight.
Did you see it when it came out, or
No.
you said you saw it later?
No, I had seen Milk when it came out, but I barely remembered it for some reason, maybe because I'm 40 bazillion years old now. But I even rewatched that and reminded myself of how moving it is. And then it wasn't on the list. So I thought, oh God, well, and then there was the doc. Okay, I'll watch the doc. I hadn't seen it. I was a little like, okay, I dare you to be as good as the Gus Van Sant.
Well, let me interrupt, because I want people to understand who Sally Field is. So we offer this list to people, and she was first kind enough to say yes, she'd do it. And then you found a movie you hadn't seen, and you watched it to see. I just mean you're sort of, you have unparalleled diligence.
Well, I watched the ones I had seen,
I know.
and then I realized I hated them.
Oh my goodness. Right, you need to be impressed.
I do. It takes about 10 minutes and you're in. It's very well done. It's wonderfully done. And then Harvey Milk is he's such a diamond of a soul.
Infectious.
And he just jumps out at you, and I would follow him anywhere. But he's gone.
Yeah, it's very easy to see why the people in the film were so moved by him. I mean, again, he reminds me in the same way. There's a little bit of Martin Luther King in him, there's a little bit of Bobby Kennedy in him, there's and of course, tragically, his life ends the same way.
Yeah.
Sally,
Yes.
thank you. We'll talk more after the movie, but let's watch it now. Here it is, from director Rob Epstein in 1984, The Times of Harvey Milk. I'm back with Sally Fields to discuss the film we just saw, The Times of Harvey Milk. Comes in at number 81 on the New Republic's list of the 100 most significant political films of all time, all part of our series, Making Change, as we look at a number of these films. First of all, Sally, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
And thanks for picking this. The narration in this film struck me immediately, and of course, it's Harvey Milk.
Of course, you recognize his voice. I did immediately because he was actually in Mrs. Doubtfire as well. And he's a wonderful, tremendous man. It almost made me start crying just hearing his voice. You know, you're sobbing at the end. The shot of the people that came out holding candles all down the street in San Francisco. Thousands of people. And the interviewee says one of the things that struck her so tremendously is that it was silent. No one talked, no one shouted, there was no anger, they just held candles and walked down the street. And the shot just is like, you're done.
So let me ask you this, Sally. Norma Ray and Lincoln are the two that spring to mind. You can certainly make an argument that even Places in the Heart has a political element to it.
Absence of malice.
Absence of malice, definitely. Hollywood is less inclined these days to make an overt political movie. They'll make movies about some social causes, but to make an overtly political movie, there is a hesitancy. Makes me wonder whether Norma Ray could get made.
Oh, no.
You don't think so?
Oh.
So why the change, do you think?
Well, as you well know, the whole industry has changed so dramatically, hugely amount since the pandemic, because theaters just lost the ability to draw anybody in. But I watched it change when the audiences were changing. You know, it was more overseas, and the films got bigger, and they were more about catering things to very young men, 14, 15, 16. Comic book movies got to be huge. Enormous budgets that if the film goes down, the whole studio goes down. So they're not interested in making human stories.
So you think in the era when, let's take the 70s, when your film came out, when Norma Ray came out, and all those wonderful political movies, and Parallax View, and 3 Days of the Condor, and The Conversation, All the President's Men, Network, were we better off? Were we more politically astute with movies telling political stories?
I sure think it is a way to make people think or feel. You know, you leave the audience, you know, either laughing or crying, but the most important thing would be have them leave the theater thinking about something that maybe they hadn't considered, or maybe they didn't know they were actually interested in. Live theater has continued to try to make it about that, even though they've had a hard time fighting to have serious plays have a place to land.
You know, we have the tools to be more sophisticated about politics than we've ever been. We have access to information that was inconceivable to have at our fingertips in the 1970s. Yet, I think almost everyone would agree that in many ways we are incredibly unsophisticated politically in comparison to how we were 30, 40 years ago. Not that it was perfect in any way then, but I mean, now we are in entrenched camps and instinctively interpret information.
I think social media has done a lot to aid in that, making us entrenched camps and misinforming, disinforming. And working class people are people that are just busy, and they turn that on and they take that as a fact. My grandmother, may she rest in peace, she used to believe the front page of the National Enquirer and say, "Look at this, Sally, would you look at this? Would you look at this?" I said, "Joy, come on, this isn't real." "Well, it printed here. It's got to be real." how do you get them to realize, no, how do I say to my grandmother Joy, put that rag down? I can't say it to them, you know?
I know, I love that your grandmother's named Joy.
I know.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you, but I'll take this because this has been a lovely conversation. So, Sally, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me, Ben.
Sally's work is done for the night, but the political movies continue here on TCM. Coming up from 1964, we'll have Franklin J. Schaffner's film, The Best Man. I'll be joined by a Josh Mankiewicz.
Oh, him.
Hard to pronounce his last name, but I'm sure he'll be very entertaining. That's coming up next on TCM.